You think going to war is about glory, shining medals, and heroic charges. You have seen the colorful recruitment posters promising a grand adventure. You are completely and utterly wrong. The reality of the Great War is not found in history books. It is buried in the mud. It is a massive, industrialized machine designed to consume human life. The generals sit in warm, clean castles miles away, moving tiny flags on a map. But down here, in the cold, deep trenches of the Western Front, there is no strategy. There is only survival. You are not fighting for a king or an empire anymore. You are fighting for a dry pair of socks and a piece of bread. The enemy is just a few hundred yards away, but your biggest threat is the earth itself. The mud, the cold, and the endless, deafening noise will break your mind. This is the hierarchy of endurance in the darkest place on Earth. Every day you survive is a miracle, but every tomorrow is a nightmare. Welcome to the front line. Level 1, the arrival. You are 19 years old. You step off a cramped train carrying a heavy pack and a rifle. The first thing that hits you is not the sound of artillery, but the smell. It is an overwhelming mixture of smoke, rotting wood, and damp earth. You march for 6 miles in the freezing rain toward the communication trenches. The ground beneath your boots slowly turns from solid dirt into thick, sucking clay. You step into the front line trench, and the walls of mud rise above your head. You realize you are now living in a dark, narrow ditch carved into the earth. The mud is everywhere. It covers your uniform, your weapon, and your hands. If you drop a tool into the deep water at the bottom of the trench, it is gone forever. You meet your squad mates. They are exhausted, gray-faced men who look 10 years older than they are. They do not ask your name. New recruits disappear too quickly to make friends. They simply point you to a small cutout in the dirt wall to sleep in. You sit on a wet wooden duckboard, trying to keep your boots out of the freezing water. The cold bites straight through your heavy woolen coat. Suddenly, a massive, fat rat runs directly over your boot. The veterans laugh. The rats here are the size of small cats, feeding on the scraps of war. They are the true kings of the trenches. As night falls, the true psychological test begins. A distant, deep rumble echoes through the ground, vibrating in your chest. The heavy artillery guns miles away have started their nightly routine. Shells scream over your head like passing freight trains, crashing into the distance. The ground shakes with every impact, dropping dirt onto your helmet. You pull your collar up and close your eyes. You realize the guns will not stop until the morning.
Level 2. The Sentry. It is 2 a.m. You are ordered to the fire step for guard duty. You stand on a wooden box to look over the edge of the trench. Your job is to stare into no man's land and look for enemy raiding parties. The darkness is absolute and terrifying. Your eyes begin to play tricks on you in the pitch black. A wooden post wrapped in barbed wire looks exactly like a crawling man. The wind blowing through the broken trees sounds like whispering voices. Paranoia grips your throat. If you fall asleep on duty, you will be court-martialed. But if you stare too long, the shadows start to move. Suddenly, a sharp pop echoes from the enemy lines. A magnesium flare shoots high into the sky and bursts into a blinding white light. The star shell illuminates the entire blasted landscape in stark, ghostly shadows. You see massive craters filled with water and the tangled ruin of barbed wire. For 30 seconds, the night becomes as bright as day. You immediately drop down below the sandbags. If your silhouette is visible against the flare, an enemy sniper will find you. The crack of a single rifle shot rings out. A bullet hits the sandbag exactly where your head was 2 seconds ago. Dirt sprays directly into your face. You hold your breath, pressing your back flat against the cold mud wall. The flare slowly burns out, floating down on a tiny parachute. Total darkness returns, but it no longer feels empty. You know there is a highly skilled marksman out there staring at your exact position. You have 2 more hours of your shift left, and you dare not look up.
Level 3. The Cloud. It is early morning. A thick, eerie fog rolls across the battlefield. You are drinking a hot cup of terrible chicory coffee. Suddenly, the sharp, frantic clanging of a brass bell echoes down the trench line. It is followed by shouts of absolute panic. Gas! 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 You drop your metal cup. Your heart skips a beat. You look over the parapet and see a heavy greenish-yellow cloud rolling slowly across the ground. It is chlorine and phosgene gas, the silent, creeping death. It sinks into the craters and flows directly into the trenches like water. You desperately tear open the canvas bag slung across your chest. You pull out your heavy rubber gas mask. You have exactly 10 seconds to seal it over your face before your lungs burn. You pull the tight rubber over your head, struggling with the straps. You snap the filter into place and exhale forcefully to clear the valve. The world instantly shrinks to 2 foggy glass eyepieces. The air inside the mask tastes like stale rubber and charcoal. Your breathing becomes loud, forced, and incredibly claustrophobic. The yellow cloud pours over the sandbags, filling the trench completely. You cannot see more than 3 feet in front of you. A young recruit next to you panics. His mask strap is tangled. He coughs, drops to his knees, and reaches out for help. But the strict rule of the gas attack is that you never take off your own mask to help another. You have to watch through foggy glass as the cloud overtakes him. The gas lingers in the trench for an agonizing 45 minutes. You sit in the yellow fog, breathing like a trapped animal, praying the filter doesn't fail. Level 4. The Trench Raid. It is a moonless night. You are selected for a specialized trench raiding party. The objective is to cross no man's land, infiltrate the enemy trench, and gather intelligence. You leave your heavy rifle behind. In the narrow trenches, it is too clumsy. You are armed only with a sharpened entrenching spade and a heavy wooden club. You cover your face and hands in burnt cork ash so they will not reflect the starlight. You crawl out of your trench and into the freezing mud on your stomach. You have to navigate through the labyrinth of rusted barbed wire. You move inches at a time. If you snag your clothes on the wire, the noise will alert the enemy. It takes an agonizing hour to crawl 200 yards. You finally reach the edge of the enemy trench line. You hold your breath, listening to the guards talking in a foreign language below you. On a silent signal from your sergeant, you drop down into the enemy trench. The element of surprise is your only advantage. The encounter is not a glorious battle, it is a desperate, silent struggle in the dark. You swing your heavy wooden club, relying on pure survival instinct. It is close, brutal, and chaotic. Your squad quickly secures a bewildered enemy sentry to take back for questioning. But an alarm whistle suddenly blows. You have been discovered. Enemy soldiers flood out of their dugouts. You scramble out of the trench, dragging your captive. Now you have to run back across no man's land while the enemy opens fire. Machine gun tracer rounds snap past your head like angry red hornets. You dive headfirst back into your own trench, completely covered in mud and adrenaline. You survived the raid, but tomorrow, the enemy will exact their revenge. Level 5. The Bombardment. The enemy response arrives the next afternoon in the form of a massive artillery barrage. This is not the sporadic shelling of the night. This is drum fire. Thousands of heavy guns open fire simultaneously. The sound merges into a single, continuous, deafening roar, like a massive waterfall of explosions. You retreat deep into the underground bunkers, 30 feet beneath the earth. You sit on the wooden floor, knees pulled to your chest, holding your helmet down. The bunker shakes violently with every single impact above. The heavy wooden support beams creak and groan under the immense pressure. Dust falls constantly from the ceiling like a heavy brown snowstorm. The air pressure drops rapidly with near misses, making your ears pop painfully. The sheer volume of high explosives turns the ground above into a boiling ocean of mud. You look around the dim candlelight. Some men are praying loudly, some are crying, some are staring blankly into space, completely broken.
This is the absolute helplessness of modern warfare. Your rifle, your training, and your bravery mean absolutely nothing down here. You are entirely at the mercy of mathematics and falling steel. Suddenly, a heavy shell scores a direct hit just above your section of the bunker. A deafening crack echoes and half the ceiling collapses. Complete darkness. You are buried under hundreds of pounds of loose earth. Panic sets in as you realize you cannot breathe. But hands grab your uniform, pulling you violently backward out of the collapsed dirt. Your squad mates dug you out just in time. The bombardment continues for another grueling 6 hours, and then, suddenly, it stops. The terrible silence is worse because it means the infantry is coming.
Level 6. Over the top. The order comes down from the commanders. It is your turn to attack. The objective is to charge across no man's land and take the enemy trench line. You stand on the fire step, the sun barely rising through the thick morning fog. You fix your long steel bayonet to the end of your rifle. The sound of hundreds of metal blades locking into place echoes down the line. Your stomach is tied in knots. Your hands are shaking violently. You look left and right at the men beside you. You all know that walking out of this trench is almost certainly a fatal command. The artillery lifts, shifting their fire to the enemy reserves. The officer looks at his pocket watch. The seconds tick by agonizingly slowly. He raises a small silver whistle to his lips. The shrill, piercing sound of the whistle slices through the quiet morning. This is the command. You climb up the wooden ladders. You step out of the deep mud trench and onto the exposed, cratered ground above. Instantly, the world explodes into absolute, unimaginable chaos. The enemy machine guns open fire, sounding like giant, ripping canvas. You are running as fast as you can, carrying heavy gear through deep, sticky mud. Men are falling on all sides of you, struck by invisible hornets. The ground erupts in geysers of dirt and fire from defensive mortars. You do not look down. You do not stop. If you stop, you will not start again. You navigate around massive craters and through narrow gaps in the barbed wire. The roar of battle makes it impossible to hear yourself scream. You see the enemy trench line looming ahead through the smoke. You lower your bayonet and prepare to jump into the dark. Level 7. The Survivor. The attack is over. The trench is secured. The chaotic roar of battle fades into a heavy, eerie silence. You sit against the muddy wall of the newly captured trench, completely exhausted. Your uniform is torn, your hands are shaking, and your face is covered in dirt. The ground around you is littered with the debris of the charge. You realize that out of your entire squad of 20 men, only 5 remain. The generals miles away mark this as a massive victory on their clean paper maps. They successfully advanced the front line by exactly 400 yards. 400 yards of ruined, useless mud. You look at the small piece of ground you just risked your life to take. It looks exactly like the trench you left this morning. A superior officer walks by and hands you a small tin of extra rations. It is a reward for your bravery. It feels completely meaningless. You are no longer the naive recruit who stepped off the train. The illusions of glory have been completely burned out of you. You are a hardened veteran now, forged in the most brutal factory on Earth. You know how to recognize the sound of incoming shells. You know how to sleep standing up in the freezing rain. But the true horror of the Great War is not the battles you survived. The true horror is the realization that the war is not ending anytime soon. There is no victory parade waiting for you tomorrow. Tomorrow, you will pick up your shovel and reinforce the sandbags. You will stare out across a new stretch of no man's land.